Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots, and let's talk some Texans. Did the Texans disappoint at the NFL's trade deadline? We'll get to the bottom of that answer on the video tonight. Plus, some CJ Stroud conversation, your comments, questions, joys, concerns, and whatever else might be in the world that we want to discuss and talk about. That's going to be on the video tonight. Did the Texans disappoint at the trade deadline? Get into the comment section. Get after it from that standpoint. At the top of the comment section, there's a way that you can get in live, audio or video. Ask your question or get your comment heard on the channel as well. In the description down below, everything you need to know about the channel. Give me a thumbs up on your way down to the description. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So, did the Houston Texans disappoint at the trade deadline? I don't know what everybody else wanted them to do at the trade deadline, but I wanted them to be cautiously aggressive. If an opportunity presented itself in the same vein as, say, adding Dalton Schultz this past offseason in free agency, then I wanted them to explore that as a potential avenue to go down. And when I say cautiously aggressive, I didn't want them to go all in here at the deadline trade, like a second and a fourth for a big-time player. I didn't want them to trade, both those fourth-round picks that they have for a couple of different players. Ultimately, I felt like there were some chances to improve the team, and a couple of the actions that the team didn't take gives us an idea of where they are on some of these players that might have been replaced via trade. So you start to look at who was traded at this trade deadline. And Adam Schefter put out a really good list here, the 2023 trades and where they ended up. And you start to look at this list, and I'm kind of ignoring everything that didn't really happen today. Mecole Hardman, no thanks. Randy Gregory, J.C. Jackson, he was only going back to New England, it felt like. So I'm ignoring these. So going through this, Rasul Douglas, really expensive. Would the Texans have been better if they had Rasul Douglas? Sure. The trade and ultimately what was given up, I'm not down for that. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is he for sure better than the wide receivers they have? The guy fell out of favor in Cleveland in an offense that's dying to move the football. Is he for sure better than the 6 wide receivers that they have? I don't think so. They weren't in the market for a quarterback. They weren't in the market for a starting safety. They weren't in the market for an interior defensive lineman in Leonard Williams. So that really leaves us with the defensive ends that the Commanders traded and the interior offensive lineman that the Vikings traded. And you start to look at what was available. I don't believe they were chasing these defensive ends. The way that Jonathan Grenard's been playing, he's the best defensive end on the team right now. He's statistically the best defensive end on the team right now. The way Will Anderson's been playing, and I know the sack numbers aren't there, but the pressure numbers are there, and he's close. I'm telling you guys, Will Anderson is close to having success on the football field. I didn't believe they were really chasing either of these defensive ends. Certainly not for the second-round price that Montez Sweat cost. Now, the third-round pick for Chase Young, that's a conversation worth having. That's a conversation worth having, but you got to remember, that's a third-round pick for 10 games of a defensive end that you have to play a little bit. He's not – is he starting over Grenard when Grenard's got as good of stats, if not better stats than him? Is he starting over the number 3 overall pick in Will Anderson? And so he's a rotational player. So you're trading a third-round pick for 10 games of a rotational defensive end. So, yeah, it keeps Dylan Horton off the field. But how much really can you put Chase Young on the field? You're not bumping any of those guys inside so that you're rushing 3 defensive ends and 1 defensive tackle. So it became difficult to see exactly how Chase Young fits on this team. And you may think to yourself, well, he's better than Will Anderson, so put him out there. But you're not benching Will Anderson. You're not making him a rotational player. You're not benching Jonathan Grenard in the middle of a career year, and you're not making him a rotational player. So I'm not super upset that the defensive ends didn't show up. Now, Ezra Cleveland, the interior offensive lineman that went to the Jaguars, that was a 6th-round pick. Man, that's one that I definitely would have explored if I was the Texans. When you think about the fact that they're about to go to their 4th center on the season, and they could have got this Ezra Cleveland cat, stuck him at left guard, and bumped Titus Howard back out to his natural position, that one stings a little bit. But are we really going to sit here and whine and moan and complain about a guy that the Vikings handed off for a 6th-round pick, and Doug Peterson wouldn't even commit to that he was a starter when he was on the Pat McAfee show and they broke the news to him that he's going to be on the team? So, like, what moves did you really, really want them to make at the trade deadline that you're like, yes, this absolutely changes the fortune of this team. This absolutely changes the outlook of where this team can go. And I see people, Devontae Adams, and that's been a big one that I have seen in social media, and we see it here in the chat. You couldn't afford Devontae Adams once today got here. That's because you couldn't adjust the contract. The Raiders weren't trading Devontae Adams. Nobody could get Devontae Adams. Like, the Raiders weren't trading Devontae Adams. He's not available. Like, somebody hit me up and was like, well, why didn't they trade a 3rd for Mike Evans? Mike Evans wasn't available. Like it takes 3 people. It takes 3 people to tango for the Texans to make a trade. The opposing team's decision maker, Nick Caserio, and the evaluation of what it costs, and D'Amico Ryans giving the sign-off and approval and co-signing what Nick Caserio brings to the table to him. Like, it's not just, oh, we'll just go trade for this guy. Like Madden makes it easy. Like, you had to restructure contracts by yesterday if you wanted to change money around and move money around. The Texans don't have any money because they don't have any money because they're still dealing with dead cap from this player, that player, the big money, the constant churn of guys that are hurt that they have to pay. Like, they didn't have any money to go and get some sort of giant deal done, but they had money to do something. I would agree with anybody who says they should have done something. We talked about Ezra Cleveland, the guy who was the interior offensive lineman that goes from Minnesota to Jacksonville. They could have done something. So I agree with anybody who's like, okay, was there a veteran offensive lineman they could have added? Along the lines of when they grabbed Josh Jones before the season started. Along the lines of when they grabbed Kendrick Green before the season started. Like, maybe Ezra Cleveland was that guy. I personally, once I saw that Tim Quintiriano left the game on Sunday with a hamstring injury, I personally wanted them to go and get a tight end. I wanted them to go and get Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry would have been a fantastic addition to this team. They have 1 tight end on the roster that's healthy right now. Brevin Jordan's got a foot injury. Tim Quintiriano went on injured reserve. So they have 1 tight end that is healthy on this roster right now. It's Dalton Schultz. Hunter Henry has basically the same stats as Dalton Schultz. Imagine if this team had 2 Dalton Schultzes. The blocking wouldn't get better, but as far as what they trust and who they trust, this team trusts veterans in the passing game. They throw the ball to Noah Brown. They throw the ball to Nico Collins. Tank Dell's almost kind of an afterthought in the passing game, it feels like sometimes. And they throw the ball to Schultz. Like, Hunter Henry would have been a veteran that they could have brought to the table and brought to the equation. And that became something that was hard to do and impossible to do once the contract restructuring deadline happened yesterday. And I see the comment that they signed Eric Sauerbert from Drake University today. Like, Hunter Henry or Mike Gesicki or some of these other guys that are just languishing on the bottoms of rosters, to me, are better options than this guy who played at Drake, who I've never heard of. So, again, maybe the prices were too high. Maybe the conversation was simply, hey, if you go here, this team's going to beat you. You know, I wasn't down with trading a 1st-round pick, certainly. I wasn't down with trading a 2nd-round pick. That third round pick's not that valuable because it's the Philly pick. It's not the Texans' third round pick that they had. It's the Philly pick. So Philadelphia's pick, it's probably going to be at the back of the part of the third round. So you're right at the top 100 spot with Philadelphia. So it's tough because I don't feel like there was a for sure had to make move. You could explain to me, yes, chase this player, chase that player, but how they fit and how the team currently feels about their players. I'm going to put up another Adam Schefter tweet here to kind of demonstrate. Like, look at some of the guys that were supposed to be moved that didn't get moved. Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver, still on the Raiders. They stink. Hopkins revived with Will Levis. They're not moving him. The Buccaneers are still in the thick of things. They're not moving Mike Evans. The Broncos feel like they kind of got something going, so they're not moving Judy or Sutton, who both caught touchdowns this past weekend, and they're not moving their best defensive player, Patrick Surtain. Again, the Titans, they're not moving anybody. Danielle Hunter didn't get moved. Wasn't available really once today got going. Brian Burns didn't get moved. Devontae Adams, you couldn't make the money work and wasn't available. Saquon Barkley, you want to tell me that a running back would have made this team better? Like, I'll listen to improving the running back room, but Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce getting hit in 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. How is Saquon Barkley going to make this team that much better? He's not. And you look at some of the players that didn't get traded and the players that did get traded, like, this wasn't last year's trade deadline. There weren't superstars getting moved. Last year, Christian McCaffrey got moved. That's a superstar. This deadline was different. A lot of teams have cap space this offseason. You're going to see some of the names that got moved today in free agency on a different team again after free agency happens. You want Chase Young? Go get him in free agency. He's going to be expensive, sure, but you've got money. Do you want to go get a wide receiver? Go get one in free. You want Mike Evans? Go get him in free agency. He's going to be a free agent. You want T. Higgins? He might be a free agent. Now, I believe they're going to franchise tag him, but he might be a free agent. So, give me 1 second. I'm sending a text message to my mother. So, what move do you want him to make? Like, there wasn't a no-brainer. And any move, like, okay, you give up a sixth, you give up one of the fourth-round picks for an offensive lineman that plays 10 games for you. Because, again, when the crew that's under contract gets healthy, they're set at offensive line. Like, they've got options that you're going to want to go through on the offensive line. So what was the move? Hit me in the comment section. I don't see it. I don't see the move. They could have gotten Chase Young for the third. Sure. And then San Francisco throws in an extra pick because they really want him. And all of a sudden now you're dealing 2 picks for Chase Young. And again, if you get Chase Young, you're benching someone who's been productive. And I don't care if you tell me, well, they're still going to play. If you don't start, you got benched. You're not benching Jonathan Grenard. You're not benching Will Anderson. And Chase Young's knee could explode at any moment. Chase Young had a knee injury that cost him a season and a half. His knee could explode at any moment. So you're trading a third-round pick for 10 games of a guy that's going to come off the bench at defensive end? Like, I'm not down for that. And the third-rounder who you actually use the pick on, he might suck. But if he gives you 35 games in an NFL career, that's more than what Chase Young is going to give you. I just didn't see it. I didn't see the clear-cut move. I can't crush them. I can't crush them for missing out on some of these players that are – a lot of these guys are average to below average players that moved. A lot of them are average to below average players that moved. It's really like we're not sitting here missing out on a big-time badass. I like Chase Young. I listened to a podcast that I did with Landry and Mike 2 years ago. We did this podcast 2 years ago. It's called In the Group Chat. I listened back to an old episode that we did. Landry and I both believe Chase Young will be one of the 5 best players in the NFL by now. He's not. Even when he's healthy, he's not dominant. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you Grenard and Will Anderson are dominant, but they know the team, they know the system, and they're playing well. They're playing well. And I'm not for selling. I don't know if there was anything you want to sell off the Texans. Like, could they have chased some depth at corner? Sure. Could they have chased a backup safety? Sure. Like, do you need to trade a 6th-round pick for 10 games of a backup safety? Do you need to trade a 6th-round pick for 10 games of a backup cornerback when eventually Derek Stingley is going to come back? We hope. I didn't see it. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments section. I'm happy to have that conversation. If you really think I'm wrong, hit the video link at the top of the comments section. Get in here. Let me have it. Joe Blue, what's your take on Sweat for a 2nd-round pick? Well, I tell you, Ryan Poles just isn't very good at this. Ryan Poles is not good at this. If Young goes for a 3rd, Sweat should have gone for a 3rd. Like, Ryan Poles is not good at being a general manager and making in-season trades. He traded a 2nd-round pick for Chase Young. The pick that they sent to the commies is probably going to be in the early 30s. Back-to-back years, he's traded almost a 1st-round pick for a wide receiver that's not even on his team anymore, and the 2nd-best defensive end off the Commanders. Like, what is Ryan Poles doing? He did this trade back with Carolina, and they stink. The Bears are one of the worst teams in football. He had all this money, all this draft capital, and they suck. And they sucked when Justin Fields was playing. Like, he might get fired, and Eberflus might get fired after everybody was, giving him so many platitudes and attaboys in the offseason for the way that he traded back from the number 1 pick. Turns out they should have just taken a quarterback. Justin Fields hasn't been good when he's played and then got hurt. And the offensive lineman they took is fine. They took a right tackle, the 10th overall pick, 9th overall pick. Poles doesn't know what he's doing. How do you mess up the 1st-round picks? J-Rock, any type of center or interior offensive lineman. I'll listen to this. If Juice Scruggs is back this week, then I understand not making the move. If he's back next week, I guess I kind of understand not making the move. But the Ezra Cleveland guy who leaves Minnesota, goes to Jacksonville, yeah, I'd have traded a 6th-round pick for him. Like, I'd have done that deal and brought him in here and stuck him in there at left guard and moved Titus Howard out to right tackle and just giving it a go. Like, yeah, that's one that – but again, if there's a veteran out there that they want to sign, if Scruggs is right around the corner from coming back, like, it's tough to see how they want to make that investment. Let's crack one for the working men and women out there. Hope everybody's having a fantastic night. Appreciate you jumping into the live stream. If you're watching it after the fact, appreciate you checking out the video after the fact. Yeah, look, you still had some players through the waiver wire. For once, the Texans aren't at the top of the waiver wire. It's got to tumble through a few teams before it gets to the Texans. But yeah, the waiver wire is certainly something that you can go about and add a player this way. Justin Boose or Boussey is replacing Nick going to help or hurt the Texans? I assume you mean Nick Caserio. Right now, I feel like it would hurt them. Like, there's kind of a plan, an operation, and it feels very much to me like D'Amico Ryans pretty much just calls the shots and Caserio's falls in step. And I like that they're different dudes. I like that they're from different schools of thought, and the conversation is different between those two guys, and the thought process is different between those two guys. I don't want a bunch of people that think the same way. I like differentiation between decision makers in companies. No from Houston. Would like to bridge offensive lineman, worried about Stroud getting sacked too much. Man, I don't give a damn about the sacks. He's only got sacked twice against Carolina. That's a damn good defensive line. He's the 20th. It's the 20th. They're 20th in sacks. So I'm worried about being able to push the damn pile. I'm worried about being able to run the football. They can't run the football, and this offensive line is a big issue with the running of the football. And I know 2-3 weeks ago, D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Slowick said, well, the offensive line blocked well enough to run the football. Well, they didn't on Sunday. And I'll be really excited to be at practice tomorrow and see what they line up with from an offensive line standpoint, because we got to figure out who the center is, and is Titus Howard still the left guard for this team? And we'll find that out. Maybe we'll have an inkling come practice time Wednesday, mid-morning, afternoon, whatever it is. Keep the comments coming. You want to get in on the video standpoint like our guy Oscar, you certainly can. Big O, what you got for us?
Hey, it's a lot of frustration, brother. Like as a fans, as a Houston, because we could have won the game, but it was a disappointing game. I think the defense could have done much better this game, but it's a frustration. It's gonna happen. Maybe this is not our year, but maybe next year it will be our year. But maybe these people are right. Because there's a lot of things we need in this group, like the running back. Then they might need to change it to for number 31 to Pierce for Singleton for I don't.
Yeah, a little bit more Mike Boone, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, because I have nothing against Pierce, but last year he had a year, but he got injured for the Cowboys game last year.
Yep.
It's when he got injury in. Maybe they need to do a little change in the offense and the defense.
Yeah. Oscar, appreciate you jumping in, man. Thank you so much. Good stuff from Oscar. You want to get in like him, it's at the top of the comment section. Oscar brought up something that's really important about this team, too. You lose a game that you feel like you're not supposed to. How does the team respond, and how does the coaching staff go about coaching that team up? And that's an important element of D'Amico Ryans, Bobby Slowick, Matt Berg, like everybody on this coaching staff. Like, when you lose one you feel like you shouldn't, how does the team respond? How do the coaches respond? Oscar talked about tweaks and changes on the offense. What did Bobby Slowick do? What's he going to do this week? Does D'Amico Ryans walk into the offensive room and say, do this, do this? What can they come up with to kind of fine-tune this thing on offense? They were throwing the ball all over the yard for a couple of weeks, and then they stopped. And it's not like the other teams stopping them. So I'm interested to see how they get back to throwing the football like they were and moving the football like they were. And if this Russian attack ain't working, it ain't working. Stop doing it. Like, Bobby Slowick kind of gets stuck. It feels like he gets stuck in the rushing attack. It happened in the Atlanta game, happened in this Panthers game. Like, he gets stuck. Instead of just air it out, put it in the air, coach. He just kind of keeps running the ball, and the rhythm of the offense is off, and CJ's not getting going, and the wide receivers aren't getting going. It's like, get out of the rut. So I want to grab him and shake him through my TV, but get out of the rut. Stop running the rock. Put it in the air. Juan Jimenez. What about trading for a dominant defensive tackle this summer? Who is it? Who is it? Aaron Donald in the final years of his career coming here? Malik Collins is a nice player. You pair Malik Collins with a young, impressive defensive tackle, you got a good defensive tackle duo. You got to remember, 2 of your 4 starting defensive linemen are back next year. Collins is back and Willie Anderson's back. I would think they try to bring back Grenard and or Rankins. So you may only have one changeover on the defensive line. That may just be, one of your top picks, either your first round pick or your second round pick. So, trade for a defensive tackle. I mean, who? The Titans aren't trading you Jeffrey Simmons. The Jets aren't trading you Quentin Williams. There's not a lot of those guys out there. Is somebody hitting free agency you want to go chase? Maybe. Hell no. A second round pick for that guy? Hell no. Montez Sweat is very okay. Like, he's not awesome by any means. He's very okay. Yeah, Hugo, get the bag. Like, you're right. They've got a bunch of money. They need to spend it. And they're going to. I believe they're going to spend it. I believe they're going to spend it. I like keeping our picks for the future. This is our year for a deep playoff run. I mean, if I felt like they were a defensive end away from getting in the playoffs, I'd be furious right now. They're not a defensive end away. They're not a wide receiver away. They're not an interior offensive lineman away from being in the playoffs. Like, if they're getting to the playoffs, which, by the way, I don't give a crap if they're the first game of the playoffs on Saturday and they get blown out. This team in the playoffs would be effing awesome. So I don't care about the result of the playoffs. This organization getting to the playoffs this year would be phenomenal. It would mean that so many things are going right for this team. If they're going to make a run at either the AFC South or a wild card spot, it's going to be on the merit of their own players. It's going to be on the merit of the guys that they have, that they trust, that got better over the course of the season, that played to their potential. A couple of players got healthy. That's how they're going to make their run. There was not a guy that was going to come in here and change things drastically from this trade deadline. You know? So if you get things going, part of it's going to be because those guys had the opportunity. You kept them around. You gave them the opportunity. Julian, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you checking in. Appreciate everybody checking in. I'm going to get to as many comments as I can. A couple more thoughts about the trade deadline. Something that happened with the trade deadline that drastically affected the Texans season. We'll get to that here in just a second. I'd be interested in this. I'd be interested in Josh Jones being back at left guard. That's something I would listen to. And Jones at left guard and Titus Howard at right tackle, is that better than Titus Howard at left guard and George Fant at right tackle? I don't know, but the way it's set up now, I'm willing to give the switch a chance. I'm willing to give the switch a chance. Jacob Elijah, my man Stoots, what do you think about Levis and the Titans? Are they a threat to the division or still our doormat? There have been a lot of dudes that have rolled into the National Football League and had one good game of football. There's a lot of guys that have one good game of football. You become an NFL player and a starter in this league because you can do it week after week after week after week after week. And it may not be this week or next week or 3 weeks from now, but look what happened to C.J. Stroud. The NFL got the book out. The NFL figured out how the teams call and plays for him, and they adjusted and they got ready for C.J. Stroud. We saw it basically, I think week 5 is probably the first time we saw it. The Saints did a little bit of it in week 6, and then this past week at the Panthers. Like, the book's out. You got to change the book. You got to change what you do. You got to evolve as a player, as a team. That's not going to happen for the Titans for the next couple of weeks because you need time of Will Levis to get the book out. Well, when the book's out, that guy's done that a bunch of times in college. Like, he's had a big game in college, but then the book gets out on him and teams adjust. That's what's going to happen to Will Levis. And the book may be out Thursday night when he plays the Pittsburgh Steelers. Feed me hamburgers. What a name. I love that. Man, Houston should have made for Barkley or Burns a guaranteed start of those draft picks or a hope and a prayer. Yeah, and those guys are here for 10 games. The draft picks are here for, for Burns, it's a first. Like, you're trading 5 years of a player for 10 games of Brian Burns? Or 10 games and then one of the biggest defensive line contracts in football? Like, I'm not in on that. Barkley, if you could have got Barkley for the Eagles third, I would have done it. Just to give you the option. Just to give you the option. Yeah, Michael Dieter's the center unless Juice Scruggs is back. And even then, it may still be Dieter. Scruggs is probably going to practice a little bit. What's the biggest change we can make to improve the run game? Like, I mean, they can change up the offensive line. Get Tyus Howard at a left guard because it doesn't feel like it's working. It doesn't feel like it's working. All right, one more thing about the trade deadline. There were a couple of players that stayed put that made the Texans' schedule more difficult. Because if Denver jettisons Surtain and Sutton and Judy, they're an easier out when they come to town later on the schedule. And then the Titans, I really felt like at one point the Titans were going to tear that thing apart and break it down and ship everything off for parts. But now the Titans, I mean, Derrick Henry is playing for a contract at the end of the year. Will Levis is going to be their starting quarterback for the rest of the year. I mean, he's trying to get ready for next season. The Titans games at the end of the year are more difficult than they should be because the Titans decided to keep some players. Like, yes, they sent Byard out, but that's one safety. It's one player. You know, if they had sent Henry and Hopkins out, I mean, they'd be dead in the water. They're a tad bit more dangerous than I would have expected them to be late in the season for when those two games pop up. Denver's a little bit more dangerous for when that game pops up. So that's something that didn't happen at the trade deadline that sort of affects the Texans a little bit later on. Keep getting into the comments section. I'll try to roll through as many of those as I can. I'm a little behind, but we'll get to those. You want to get in on the video or the audio like our guy Michael here, who is just a black video square. Oh, bye, Michael. If you want to get in like Michael tried to, it's at the top of the chat. Try again, Michael. We'll get you in here. Yeah, till the rushing attack proves that it can supplement the passing game or that can take over for the passing game, let the passing game take care of business. You know, let the passing game be the way that you move the rock. My guy Johnny wants in. What do you got, Johnny?
Hey, Cody, what's up, man?
That's the ugliest damn sweater I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, you shut your mouth, you fat man.
What's up, man? What do you got for us?
Man, so I look at the point differential a lot.
The Texans are sixth in the AFC in point differential at plus 20, which means they're in a lot of games. So we look at the Falcons game.
Time out, Johnny. Your audio's kind of low coming in and out here. Give me an adjustment here or something. Can you? Oh, you're still low.
Am I up now?
Nope, still low. You were up for a second, but now you're still low. I don't know.
My daughter talking. My daughter's over in the corner. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I just don't know if everybody else can hear, but keep going. Keep going. So you look at the point differential.
Yeah, point differential. We're plus 20, which is 6 in the AFC right now. I think that's something
To really look at, and like I said, the Falcons game was a game that
the Texans could have won. Really, I mean, the Nico's defense just it frustrates me really bad that
they couldn't hold Desmond Ritter
Yeah.
that game, and it was the same thing with the Carolina game. It was the
Yep, I'm there. Yeah, the Carolina game, that last drive.
it was the same thing. The
Falcons game, and it's just so frustrating. And I don't know.
I don't really know if it's so much the scheme that they're running and those
Last 2-minute drives or minute and a half drives or whatever it is on defense, but something's got to be said about that. I mean, you get, especially when CJ goes down there, against the Falcons and takes the lead. I don't understand how you just let Desmond Ritter walk down the field and win that game. And the same thing, it makes it the other thing I want to hit on they're trying to run these little plays.
Johnny, I'm gonna address that. I'm gonna let you go because the audio keeps jumping in and out. But I'm gonna hit that one point that you said because D'Amico talked about that. It's a good one, Johnny. I appreciate you jumping in, man. So Johnny brought up something that D'Amico Ryans addressed specifically this week, which is that final drive, and wasn't good enough. D'Amico Ryan said as much. We saw it. Wasn't good enough. They got smoked by Bryce Young on a screen pass on 3rd and 12. He checked. They showed blitz. They blitzed 7 guys. Panthers checked into a screen, got him for 10 yards, and then Adam Thielen gets him for the final 2 to keep the drive alive. Like, if you stop them on 3rd and long and it's 4th and long, you probably win the football game. But you run a blitz midfield, when they run a screen and you're totally done. Like they get 10 yards out of that thing. And just, man, it just rough. D'Amico's got to be better in that spot. He's got to call better plays. And he said as much. He didn't say exactly that, but he said as much. He said as much at the podium on Monday, where, hey, I have to do better. It starts with me. So, Johnny, I appreciate you jumping in. I'm sorry the audio wasn't working. I hope that's not on my end, because if it is, then Brandon's not going to sound very good. Brandon Pimpson, what's up, Brandon? You there?
Hey, what's up, Cody? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. Fire away.
Hey, man, I just wanted to talk about the offense a little bit. I hear a lot of Bobby slander,
Sure.
and, I get it. Some of the play calls, leave you a little thinking why we did that for some reason, or, just sticking with the run a little bit too much. But overall, when you really look at it and break it down, we're a top 12 offense in the league right now. So we haven't touched that in years. If you just really look at it overall, 7 games in, and you look at the offense and you look at the talent that's around CJ, it almost looks like CJ has to play perfect now for us to, really stay in there. He can't make mistakes. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie quarterback. Maybe that's why we are sticking with the run a little bit and not just feeding him all that pressure and running that spread offense everybody wants to do all of a sudden. Come on, let's also keep it real, have some reality to it.
Man, I think he's capable of handling a lot more than they're letting him handle. And I think we saw it with the way that they were, trusting him late trusting him deep in their own territory against Jacksonville, putting the game out of reach against Jacksonville by throwing the football. Like, I think they trust him a decent amount. They have turtled a couple times where they kind of don't trust him, but at this point, like, that's how you win. That's how they're going to win football games, because the rushing attack just hasn't shown up. Now, maybe a switch on the offensive line, tweak here, tweak there, and they start running the ball better. But like, until the rushing attack comes along, I feel like you should just give CJ the chance to throw the rock a little bit more. And like, they're in this position as an offense, overall ranking, because they threw the ball really well. Like, not because they ran the ball really well,
No, I totally agreed. Yeah, I get it. Let's throw the ball. We understand it, but you also just can't completely abandon the run here.
You're right.
Let's not throw that in there. Again, like I said, we did stick with the run a little bit too much. I agree with that statement, but also, overall, we are a good offense, and that's a lackluster running game. So, a lot of people just want to keep passing it. As we look at it now, how many passes did CJ have this week?
25, 26?
No doubt. So I thought it was 24, but yeah, he needs to have 30. So we need to get that number up to 30 at least, right? So if you go by that metric, yes, he needs to throw the ball some more. But at the same time, when you're really breaking it down and really looking at it, we're kind of nitpicking here because we're a top 12 offense.
Look, the fun part about what the Texans have done is, like, expectations changed. Like, Stroud played well early in the season, played like I kind of expected him to play towards the end of the season. And like, he showed us what he's capable of. And then you don't see it for a couple of games, or you see it in a very inconsistent way. And you're kind of like, well, hey, where the hell did this go? Like, I feel like that's kind of where we have been on that. You got another thing for me, Brandon?
Maybe that's a lot to do with other teams getting tape on CJ, right? So
Absolutely.
Will Levis looked good his first game, right? Is Will Levis going to look good the rest of the year? I doubt it.
Absolutely.
See it.
You're
and
right
they're
about
going to
that.
adjust to Will Levis. So that kind of has to play in it with also. Another thing is, like, CJ did take a couple shots that he missed too.
Yep.
There was a couple deep shots that CJ missed. So, it's not like we didn't take any.
Sure. Nico twice. Nico on the deep ball down the right side. And then they in the fourth quarter, right before the delay of game, they ran the play action rollout, and then he threw it. He just missed Nico on the throw on the crosser.
Yeah, and then another thing is, like, D'Amico kind of addressed this too. The Panthers like to play a deep shell, right? So they're kind of giving up the short underneath routes, and they're giving up the run game. Okay, they're letting you kind of get it. If you can't establish it, you're making it harder on CJ to maneuver and do his thing.
I feel like there are some moments, just watching the game, I feel like there were some moments where he sort of decided to forego the short stuff for some chances, and it didn't work out. So that's something to plus the batted passes as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he had 6 incompletions that were like 6 batted passes at one point. It feels like
It almost looked like Carolina was ready for that, right?
Yeah, that I'll be interested to ask Slowick about that on Thursday. Is how do you combat that? How do you go about that? And I'll tell you what, and I'm going to show the play here in a second. That first batted pass, thank God it was batted down because that was 7-0 Carolina.
Yep,
Brian Burns and the Carolina defense had that thing read like a book.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then another thing is a lot of them batted passes, right? Isn't this on the offensive line too? Like put your hands in their chest. I mean, put your hands on them. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't be able to keep jumping up all freely if you had your hands on them, So that's another thing to think about. But
Brandon,
it's all you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff from Brandon. Okay. All right. Second chances. They're here. Johnny, how's the audio?
I have my AirPod in. Is it better?
It's way better now. Thank you.
Okay. I have my AirPod in my right ear. I was listening while I was watching a movie with my daughter. Anyways, I wanted to hit on so they keep trying to run this cute little stuff with Tank Dell, which I mean that was an awesome play. He made a little spin move. He got the first down, but they did it a couple other times in that game, and I don't understand why they're not utilizing Mike Boone more. I mean, if the run game is struggling so much, I mean, Mike Boone is showcased. He's only been out there a handful of times, but he's made chunk yardage every time he's gone out there. I don't understand why they don't utilize him more, or maybe even Xavier Hutchinson if they're going to run stuff like that. Tank Dell is a wide receiver. Put him out at that number 2 slot, or even in the slot if you want to do that. Why are we running this stuff with Tank Dell in the backfield? I don't understand it. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, the rushing stuff with Dell, like it's a nice little switch up here or there. They go to it a lot, and they don't throw him the ball as much. Like,
yeah,
it's like Tank Dell has 4 targets. Like, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
He's been one of the most dynamic players as a rookie in all of football, and he's got 4 targets. Like.
And the same thing with Nico in that game. Nico didn't even really get much of a target either. But I mean, it was just a weird game. That Carolina game was such a weird game.
Yeah. Like, so many strange things about it. The batted passes, the herky jerky offense, the rushing attack. Succeeding on the drives where they move the ball, not succeeding on these 3 and outs. Do you think
Slowick's just trying to get too cute with this offense? Do you think he's overthinking things?
It feels like there's an element of I practiced it, so I want to run it.
Right.
And like this happened in Baltimore where he kind of got caught up in the game and just couldn't get out of the rut. It happened in Atlanta. It happened in the second half in against New Orleans. And it happened again in Carolina. Like they just get stuck. And the in-game adjustment, the on-the-fly movement that you would like to see, the fluidity of the offense, like it just hadn't been there from that standpoint. And I still believe in Bobby Slowick. I believe he can operate.
Yeah,
this offense.
I do too.
Like,
I think he's a wizard.
He's been disappointing though. Like I still believe in him, but you can still believe in the guy and still understand he's been disappointing to this point.
And we're only 7 games in, so I mean,
his in-game adjustments have been tough. They've been tough,
especially at the end of the game. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? Why are we not trying to close it out?
Some of this stuff's on CJ though. Like looking at some of the plays there late, he goes for the big, 4th down. Excuse me, it's 2nd down before the delay of game. They run that big crosser to Nico. He throws it to Nico. Tank Dell and Devin Singletary over on the side. There's not a Panthers player within 15 yards of him, and he just never saw him. Like, he never saw those guys, and it's like, hey, you don't have to be the hero and make this giant, great throw when the easy throw's over here and it gets you 20 yards, it gets you a 1st down, and the clock burns and you get closer and closer for a field goal. And then, like, part of it's Bobby Slowick on the microphone getting the call into CJ, but, like, get the call in, get guys lined up and run the play.
Well, it cuts off. Doesn't it cut off after 15 seconds?
Yeah, it cuts off after 15 seconds, so it's up to CJ to get it out, get everybody lined up, get everybody, and to criticize Slowick in that moment.
Well, CJ
don't call play with a bunch of motion.
CJ said something in the press conference that kind of caught my attention. He said the motion just takes too long. And I don't think he meant to say, I don't think he was trying to call anybody out, but he did say the motion just takes so long and it's hard to.
That delay of game is a 3-pronged problem. The first problem is Bobby Slowick calls that play. It's a wordy play. It's got motion. Like maybe you call a different play. CJ's got to get the play out, get everybody lined up, and get it going. And then the third prong of that is D'Amico. The clock's at 1. You're right
exactly.
at you're right. Yeah. You're right at Kaimi's. You're right at Kaimi's. Comfortable distance. Call the timeout. You had 3 of them.
Yeah, and I feel like these are growing pains. I feel like it's growing pains. It's just people trying to get on the same page, and it's frustrating because we're 7 games into it. And you'd think they'd have this stuff figured out by now, but
you'd rather have growing pains against Cincinnati 2 weeks from now,
than
against a winless Panthers team like that. That's just the opponent, the result, the timing of it coming out of the bye week. Like that's a rough time to have growing pains show up.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing, I know I've been on here for a little bit, but the last thing I'm kind of wondering about, if we're doing an outlook, how do you feel like? I mean, the Buccaneers have a pretty damn good defensive line. Like,
yeah,
I'm concerned about especially the up the middle stuff. I mean, and getting in CJ's face, especially with Jarrett going down. I mean. This is going to be an interesting task against the Buccaneers with Vita Vea coming up the middle. Like
yeah. I mean, I would have loved to see what Patterson had for Vita Vea, but now it's going to be Michael Dieter probably. So
you think it'll be Dieter? You don't think Scruggs is coming back?
I don't think he's ready yet. And if he is ready, he hadn't practiced at all. Like these guys on the IR, you can't practice. So he hasn't run a play with the team since the preseason.
Well, I guess tomorrow the injury report comes out, right?
Yeah, so on Twitter, I'll be tweeting once we get the practice for the open portion of practice that the media can attend. Hey, the first one is Drew Scruggs practicing. The second one's Laramie Tunsil. Usually is Laramie Tunsil practicing. And then after that, it's like okay, they line up the offensive line. What was the offensive line when they line it up? If that's a tweetable portion of practice, so.
Yeah.
That'll be something to pay attention to.
Well, we'll see, man. They've got to get it back to 500. I mean, if this is going to be a salvageable season, and I think they can. It's just
3-5, staring down 3-6 with Cincinnati on deck is tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it's a rough look.
That's tough.
I think they can do it. I think, especially at home, if they can keep their 2-1 at home so far, which is great for the Texans fans. I hope Texans fans show up. I won't be there. I will actually be at the Horns game on Saturday.
Oh, no.
I'll be at the Kansas State game. Yeah, I'm bringing the family.
That's a tough one.
It's gonna be a good game. So, but anyways, that's all I got, Cody. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
Johnny, appreciate you. Good stuff from Johnny. You want to get in like Johnny? You want to get in like Brandon? You want to get in like Oscar? You certainly can at the top of the chat. Let's crack another one for the working men and women. All right, plenty to get to here. I want to show you some of those Stroud plays, but you guys got some comments. I think there's truth about CJ's comments about needing to air it out more. Yeah. He wants to throw the ball more. He's good at it. This is a funny comment. Don't have to worry about Bobby leaving for a head coaching job next year. It's true. That's true. Oscar, appreciate you jumping on, man. Thank you. Howard is not great at guard. No, he is not. They've got to figure that out. All right, a couple more comments. I'm going to show you guys some CJ stuff. Let's see here. Need to get Jones at left guard, Howard back at right tackle. I'd try it. Man. I really would. I'd give it a shot. Frank Z. The center position is jinxed. It's not been great. They go from Chris Myers, who was really good, Pro Bowler, basically hand that thing to, I think it's Ben Jones for a minute. They decide they don't want Ben Jones to be the center. They give it to Nick Martin. He stinks to high heaven. Justin Britt, Scott Quessenberry. Scott Quessenberry is maybe going to start this year. Boom, he gets hurt. Juice Scruggs is there to back him up. Boom, he gets hurt. Jarrett Patterson's there to back him up. He gets hurt. Your backup center, who was playing guard, Kendrick Green, he gets hurt. Like, what did the centers do? Did they have a center party on a burial ground somewhere? You know? I'd have kicked with Kaimi. I'd have kicked. 57, 58 yards, I'd have kicked it. Seeing if he could force Carolina to score a touchdown. I'd have kicked the damn thing. I understand punting and playing defense the way the defense had played to that point, but I'd have kicked it. I would have kicked it. All right, a couple more comments here. Then we'll show you guys some video. Have you watched the All-22? Yeah, I've watched a decent amount of the game from that standpoint. If you don't know what All-22 is, it's the view, it's the sky view where you can see all the players, and then it's the end zone view where you can see all the players. In fact, I'll show you what it looks like. Give me a second. Set this up. Share screen. All right. You guys see that all right? All right, here we go. Watch this play. Watch this play. It's the best batted pass of C.J. Stroud's career. Watch 0. He had it read like a book. Burns had it read like a book. That was going for 7. That was going for 7. It gets knocked down, but look at this. CJ's throwing it here. Burns has got that. CJ's trying to get it probably right here. Burns has got that thing read. Look at that. The very least, Burns is knocking it down, but he's probably picking it. He's probably picking it. That was a rough one. That was a rough one. Let's show another play. All right, this is the big miss to Nico. Got to hit this. Got to hit this. You know, Nico's got to adjust. He gets tangled up with the DB. You got to hit this. This is from CJ's standpoint, from the end zone. Run a little motion. That's the play, man. That's the play. That's the one. Just trips him up there at the end. Had to adjust a little bit. Man. All right, a couple more here. It's another Stroud play here. Boop. Dot to Nico. Absolute freaking seed to the side where only Nico can get it. Nico makes the play. Zoom. Look at that. Look at that. That's a good one. All right, this is the Noah Brown play. Whew. The audacity of this play. The audacity. The gumption that you have to throw this. Watch his eyes. He takes a quick peek over here, and then he sees Noah. Nothing there. Just fire it to Noah. Let's fire it between two Panthers. What a freaking throw. Let's watch that one more time from this angle. I do wonder if the little peek over here, there's nobody in this portion of the field. But the peek over here, I'm not a film guy. I'm guessing. Peek over here keeps that safety in just he starts to move. He starts to see it. He knows he's throwing it. He's just too late. Behind this guy, Noah runs a fantastic route. Boop. What a toss. What a toss. Another one here. Empty. I like when they go empty with CJ. Got to get rid of this. This is right before halftime. This is the play right before halftime. Got to get rid of this. 1, 2. I know he's looking over here. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Watch his feet. He resets. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Still. Pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Scramble, scramble. Oh, the sack. Drives over. Drives over. Watch it again. Tank flashes across here. Whoop, there's Tank. Nope, drives over on first down. 10-yard loss, drives over on first down. God, that one stunk. He will not make that mistake again. I do not believe he will make that mistake again. Let's check this one out. This is the tipped pass to Noah Brown. You get a little lucky here. I'm not so much worried about the process of this one. Excuse me. I'm not so much worried about the result of this one and the potential result of this one than I am excited about the process. Big boot immediately sees this big ugly right here. So he knows he's got to make a play. Could have hit Schultz right here for the small one, but he sees Noah. He sees the wave. This guy fell down. Gets back up in time. Bats it. CJ will not let that get batted again. CJ will not let that get batted again. He will crush that throw next time. He will crush that throw next time. That will not get batted again. All right, last play here. All right. This is the play right before the delay of game. Okay? This is the play right before the delay of game. So Tank. All right, so he sees Nico. He's ready to make this play. He's starting to wind it up. He set his feet. He's going to make the throw. Look at this. Look at Tank. Look at Devin Singletary. This is the sticks. You throw it to Tank. Him and Devin Singletary got to block one guy to get to those yards. God, that's rough. Now, at this point, he's already made the decision to throw to Nico. Got to hit this throw. Got to hit this throw. You're a big-time quarterback. It's a big-time play. This is a dagger. This is stab the Panthers, put them away. Got to hit this throw. Short. Now, some of that pressure shows up late, but he had time to set the feet and throw it. Watch this. He had time to – he sees Nico. He's like, I got Nico. Here we go. Set the feet. This guy's coming, but he's got time to make that throw. And just kind of short-armed it. Got to make that throw, man. Got to make that throw. Couple of Stroud highlights for you. Feel like that throw kind of slipped from his hands. Maybe. The big thing, I show a CJ mistake or I show a play, I'm not going to show you that same play again later. That's my favorite part probably about CJ, is I'm not going to show you a lot of those mistakes that he made. I'm not going to show you those plays over and over and over again. Like, he's going to make those mistakes, and he's not going to make those mistakes a bunch. You know? He's going to make the mistakes, and then he's not going to keep making those mistakes. Well, I'll tell you about my friends at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy, the best way to play fantasy. The Pick'em format is so simple and so much fun to play. 2 to 5 stat predictions together. You hit all 5, you get 20 times your money in just one entry. And my viewers get 2 times their first deposit with the promo code Stoots, STOOTS, promo code Stoots. The link is in the description down below. It should autofill the promo code for you. And you get 2 times your deposit up to $500. It's a limited time offer. I don't know when it's going away, but whatever you deposit up to $500, Underdog's going to match it for you. My buddy Matt put in $10. My buddy Matt put in $10. He sends me a winner in the Pick'em format every single day, it feels like. My buddy Dusty, he put in $20, so he got to play with 40. He had a kicker entry that was field goals and extra points. And he 20 times his entry in just one game. They've got all the sports. They got hockey and basketball, baseball while it's still lasting, which maybe is only one more game. And then, of course, football, even college football as well. You're just stat predicting higher or lower on a given stat prediction, higher than half a touchdown, rushing or receiving, higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, higher, lower. It's very simple, very easy to play. We put in as a show with you guys, I put in a weekly Texans game one. We got 10 games left. We haven't hit one yet. We're close. We've gotten close. We're going to hit one soon. And we want you to hit it at Underdog Fantasy as well. The link is in the description down below. The promo code Stoots gets you 2 times your first deposit on Underdog Fantasy, up to $500. Appreciate you supporting Underdog Fantasy as they support the channel, and you can have some fun as well with the Pick'em format. Underdog Fantasy, the best way to fantasy. Show the punt. I don't have the punt. I have those cut up. I don't have the punt cut up. The punt was awesome. I was making fun of some media members on Monday. We were waiting for the players to come in. We get players before we get D'Amico Ryans. Someone's like, hey, are we getting Cam Johnston today? And I was like, oh, look, he had a great game. What are we asking him? Hey, Cam, you ever hit a 74-yard punt before? How good was that? What went well on the punt? Like, I was having some fun. I'd talk to him, but it's the punter. He's good. He's good at what he does. The average is actually not super high. He's only got 3 games, so didn't qualify amongst the average guys. The average is not super high, but he pins guys deep. He's got that 74-yarder. I mean, he basically took points off the board for Carolina. Most teams get that just past midfield and are able to put 3 points on the board. He put that thing deep in their territory, and they couldn't move the rock. And it was a great job by him. If you have a super chat, you go to the front of the line when it comes to questions, comments, joys, and concerns. Like our guy Devin's got a super chat. What's up, Stoots? Getting in here late. Ugly loss, but still got to have faith in this young team. I see people calling this same old Texans, and we're far from that. This is an important aspect about what Devin's talking about. It is a young team. It's a young coaching staff. Let's see how they respond. Let's see, handling success has been tough for this team. They haven't put together much consistent success. Handling failure has worked out pretty well for the Houston Texans. They've been able to bounce back from some of this stuff. You think about how disappointing Atlanta was. They beat New Orleans. You think about how disappointing the Colts game was. They beat think about how disappointing the Colts game was. They beat the Jaguars. Holy moly. The Raiders just fired Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll get to that here in just a second. But Devin's right. And we talked about this when Johnny was on and Brandon. Growing pains showing up in the Panthers game sucks. You have growing pains against the Bengals, it's understandable. Growing pains against the first growing pains against and ending up giving the Panthers their first win of the season, that stinks. That stinks. Devin, thank you so much for the super chats, man. It is greatly appreciated. It helps support the channel a great ton. You're a very loyal and kind listener. And there you go. Raiders just fired Josh McDaniels. Not just McDaniels, man. They just fired McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. Whole new direction for the Raiders. Woo. So here's here. Stop it. No. Sean G. No, that's not happening. Don't do that. Let's pull up that Raiders tweet here. Let's take a look at that right now. All right. The Las Vegas Raiders have relieved Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler of their duties as head coach and general manager. After much thought about what the Raiders need to move forward, I've decided to part ways with Josh and Dave. I want to thank them for both their hard work and wish them and their families nothing but the best, said Raiders owner Mark Davis. Wow, man. Here's why this is significant. Mark Davis typically does not do this because typically he doesn't have the money to do this. But with Tom Brady dumping some money into this thing, I wonder if Brady, buying a portion of the team, being able to pump a little cash in there, allows them to do this. So the Raiders, I got to imagine that Devontae Adams being upset was probably not good. I wonder what Max Crosby thinks about this. Wow, the Raiders. So, yet again, another front office guy from the Patriots is a big failure. Dave Ziegler, big failure. Now you got two former Patriots guys hanging out as GMs. You got Nick Caserio and you got Monty Ossenfort. Ossenfort, of course, left the Patriots and went to the Titans for a little while. Ossenfort was in consideration for the Texans job. So was Ziegler. Caserio ends up with it. I would not be surprised to see Ziegler either back in New England or in the offseason, maybe he shows up for the Texans working with his buddy Nick Caserio. Man. The Raiders. Wow. Good job, Mark Davis. Good job. McDaniels will never get a third chance. What a joke that guy is as a head coach. What an absolute joke Josh McDaniels is as a head coach. Really good offensive coordinator. He's had a lot of success as an OC. What a joke that guy is as a head coach. I felt like this is a small thing. Okay, this is a small thing. It doesn't matter a ton if you win, but this is a small thing. McDaniels and Dave Ziegler swore it wasn't going to be like they were running the Patriots. They swore about that. They swore to the media. They swore it wasn't going to be like running the Patriots. The first day, the media showed up. The Raiders practiced 2 football fields away from them, and the media wasn't allowed to get up close and watch. The first day. We're not trying to be the Patriots, and then you go and do some Patriots crap. Like, that's what I like about where Caserio is right now. Nick Caserio is not doing a bunch of Patriots crap. He's not doing a bunch of Patriots South stuff with the Texans anymore. They're operating like most franchises operate. There's not a lot of Patriots South crap. They were trying to go Patriots West out there in the desert. Wasn't working. I wonder if there was some issues over the trade deadline and things didn't go the right way for them. I wonder who the next coach for Vegas is. Ben Johnson want that job more than Chicago or more than I wonder who the next Raiders coach is. That's a unique opening. It's a unique opening. There's a very real possibility Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler got fired while trick-or-treating with their children. Like, there's a real possibility that they got fired trick-or-treating with their children. Oh boy. Antonio Pierce, the former linebackers, the interim head coach? Hell yeah. All right, Antonio Pierce. If they want him, they better trade for him. I want something to sweeten the pot. I want something to sweeten the pot a little bit. I'm sure his unhappiness, it was not quiet. It was not quiet. I wonder if man, who are the dudes in the NFL right now from a coordinator standpoint? I mean, Harbaugh and the Raiders would be, I mean, that's not the worst idea in the world. Tough part about that division, man. Damn, you got to go through Mahomes. The Chargers probably get a new coach. There's 2 out of 4 teams that are getting a new coach there. Who else is getting fired? Maybe the Bears. So here's the thing. If the Raiders can fire their guy, then the Bears got to think about firing Eberflus. The Commies got to think about firing Ron Rivera. Tampa's got to think about firing Todd Bowles. You know? Man. Woo. What a news dump. Matt Canada. Matt Canada is going to be a head coach of a Canadian football league before he's a head coach in the NFL. Oh, man. All right. I have an announcement to make. We have a new supporter of the YouTube channel. You guys ready for this? I'd like to welcome Cabo Bob's to the YouTube channel. If you have never been to Cabo Bob's, oh my God, are you missing out? Multiple Houston area locations, burritos, tacos, bowls, and quesadillas. The nachos are fantastic. Cabo Bob's, you walk in, you tell them what kind of tortilla you want. They pull the dough right in front of you, put it on the scorching hot comal, make your tortilla fresh right in front of you, and then they load it up. They got different kinds of rice. They got different kinds of beans. They got all sorts of different kinds of proteins for you to choose from. They got the poblanos, which I always get on mine. They got the onions that are caramelized perfectly caramelized onions. They have so many different salsas and sauces. They've got a melon cucumber salsa that is incredible. I get that on all my bowls and burritos as well. They got some great merch, and there are a bunch of Houston area locations. As you can see here, come on, zoom in, Cody. You got 4 Houston area locations, 59 Southwest Freeway, the one that I go to over here on Fountain View. They got one out in Katy, and they got one up here, up in Cypress, over off of 249. Man, they are fantastic. I'm telling you, if you have never been to Cabo Bob's, you have got to go to Cabo Bob's. It is fresh. It is tasty. It is affordable. Like, you get value. I promise you, watching the ladies wrap the burritos, I don't get anything extra. I don't get extra rice. I don't get extra beans. I don't get extra meat. I don't do any of that extra stuff. Watching the lady every time, it's like she's working to close the burrito and wrap it up. They give you so much damn food. You could probably turn one burrito into 2 meals. The bowls are fantastic. If you like individual tacos, they're great too. The quesadillas are awesome. I get the ancho chile tortilla. They've got your traditional tortillas. Man, Cabo Bob's, welcome to the YouTube channel. And they're showing up in a big ass way. Our next raffle is Cabo Bob's gift cards. $25 Cabo Bob's gift cards. That's our next raffle. It will open up later this week. You'll know about it. I'll put it out. I'll put the bat signal out. I'll put the Cabo Bob signal out. $25 gift cards only to Houston area and surrounding area listeners. Okay, I want to make that very clear. I want you to go to the Houston stores and want you to get them. So if you're in Austin, I'm sorry. If you're where all the other Cabo Bobs are, I'm sorry. I'll take care of you with something else if you win. But Houston area listeners, people that can go to these Houston stores, $25 Cabo Bob gift cards are going to be our next raffle item. We'll give away 2 of them. Giving away 2 $25 Cabo Bob's gift cards. You could probably go 2.5 times on $25. Or you can go like me and get you a burrito and get you some chips and salsa, maybe some chips and guac. Man, it's a blast. I love Cabo Bob's. I'm so thankful they're on the YouTube channel. I appreciate them showing up. Check out your local Cabo Bob's. 4 Houston area locations. Check them out. I see some super chats. I want to catch up on those. The new head coach and general manager of the Raiders, Bill O'Brien. I would think that Mark Davis is done with the Patriots rejects. I would think that he's done with the Patriots pals. Sean G. We are not New England West, said O'Brien during his Raiders press conference as he was introduced by GM Nick Caserio. Oh, man. You seen the Patriots offense lately? Bob ain't sniffing a head coach job. He'd be lucky to keep his job in New England. Which, thank goodness. Get what you earn. Get what you earn. He hadn't earned another shot. Not at an NFL head coaching job. Darth Derp, thank you. Sean G, thank you. The super chats, man. Those guys, that's awesome, guys. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. All right, so a little housekeeping there. Take care of Cabo Bob's. Go in there. Check them out. If you go to Cabo Bob's, please, if you go to Cabo Bob's, send me a tweet, a Facebook message, an email, whatever, of what you get, how much you liked it. Please check out Cabo Bob's. They do a great job, and I'm happy to have them supporting the channel along with Underdog Fantasy and along with all you guys with the super chats as well. So Cabo Bob's gift card raffle starting later this week. Be on the lookout for that. Bolo. Be on the lookout for that. All right. So be on the lookout for Cabo Bob's gift card raffle. Hats on the way. Working on it. Working through it. New stickers on the way. Working on it. Working through it. Check out Houston Football. Houston Football, www.houfootball.com. That's where I do all my writing about the Texans. Do all my writing. Free stuff on there all the time. There's always something free for just $7 a month. For just $7 a month, you get the paid stuff. It's everything. It's everything. And I'm not doing just some boring writing crap. Like I try to keep it fun, fresh, easily digestible stuff. Okay? So I will make it worth your $7. I will make it worth your $7. And if you want a free week, email me. I'll give you a free week. You can try it out. CodyStoots@gmail.com. CodyStoots@gmail.com. I will give you a free week. If you're unsure, I don't know, Cody, $7 a month. I don't really like reading that much. I can't read. You gotta get someone to read it to you. I'll make it worth your time. I'll make it worth your time. I'll make it worth your money. Devin, see Chase go for a third. The 49ers turned my stomach a little bit. I'll tell you who it turned the stomach for. It turned the stomach for the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Seahawks, anybody else in that division. We said it at the beginning. I'm not upset that Chase Young's not on the Texans. I'm not upset. I understand why he's not on here, because you like what Will Anderson's put together. You like what Jonathan Grenard's put together, and you're not benching either one of those guys. So I get that it would have been nice. Like, yeah, you put those two with Chase Young. That's your top 3 defensive ends. You can't play 3 defensive ends at once. Not as much as you play 2, you know? If you're a Seahawks fan, you gotta be sick seeing that. You'd be sick. Devin, thank you so much for the super chat, man. You are very kind. You're very kind. Thank you so much. Oh, Jim Davies, I like this plan here. Raiders get the number 1 pick higher in Lincoln Riley, draft Caleb Williams. Wouldn't mind it. Wouldn't mind it. Yeah, if you want Chase Young, you get him in the offseason. You can pay him. Like, I wasn't down for trading a 3rd-round pick. I wasn't down for trading a 3rd-round pick for 10 games of Chase Young when he's got an iffy knee. 10 games of a guy that's going to play 10 games for you and then hit free agency. I wasn't down trading a 3rd-round pick for that. Okay. Let's call it a night here, gentlemen and ladies and aliens and anybody else. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Housekeeping. Check out Cabo Bob's. You will not be disappointed. They do a great job. They're the newest supporter to the YouTube channel. Thank you, Cabo Bob's. Check out Underdog Fantasy. Told you about that earlier. Got the raffle starting up later this week. Get the raffle fired up. Get that going. Thank you to all the super chats. Very appreciative of that. Hats on the way. New stickers on the way. Fun stuff on the channel on the way. I'm dialing up the creativity, man. I'm putting together some fun, unique stuff here for the channel. I'm really excited about the future of this channel. Really excited. We're not even the halfway point of the season. Like, we have so much fun stuff still ahead with this team and with this season. We're not even halfway yet. So I'm excited. I'm ready to get after it. I'm ready to have some fun stuff. Thank you to the newest tortilla guys at Cabo Bob's, Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. That's a good one, Ayad. That's a very good one. That's a very good one. So I'm having a blast doing this. You guys make it an incredibly fun thing to do. I greatly, greatly appreciate all your support, from the comments to the likes on the channel to subscriptions to telling your friends to telling your enemies, everything. Thank you all so much. This is the most fun I've had ever covering the Texans. Is doing stuff like this, doing the stuff on Houston football. It's a blast, man. It's a blast. All right. This is how we wrap up all of the live shows. It's my charge to you. It's my hope for you as well. Because if you could do these 3 things, I believe you, as well as everyone around you, will have a great life. If you can eat good, sleep good, and be good, things will turn out all right for you. So it's my charge to you. It's my hope for you. Eat good, sleep good, be good. Thank you again, everybody. We'll talk Texans again soon.